Domestic abuse can affect anyone, men and women of any age and from any background. And it doesn't always mean physical violence. And the new law governing controlling and coercive behaviour means that sustained behaviour amounting to extreme emotional and psychological abuse can now lead to a prosecution. Craig, first of all, what do we mean by coercive control?
If you imagine that you're in a relationship with somebody or you have a family member and they're controlling of every aspect of you. They might tell you what to wear, they might tell you when you can see friends or family members, control your finances. It's something that can lead to loss of self-confidence, loss of friends, loss of family, social isolation, and it can lead to very traumatic emotional and psychological injuries.
So what does this new law mean?
It sends out a very clear message to victims and perpetrators that this is unacceptable, this is now a criminal act. It enables the police and support services to engage with victims at a much earlier stage, and really identify those abusive behaviours which previously haven't been labelled or haven't been recognised as criminal. Hopefully we can intervene, we can put support mechanisms in place, put protective measures in place, and hopefully bring prosecutions at a much earlier stage before we result in a physical injury.
Michelle, how much do you think it's going to help the people that you see?
I think it will help immensely. A lot of victims do not recognise that they're in an abusive relationship. A lot of women that we support believe that if the relationship's not physical, then they're not experiencing domestic violence.
Yeah. Do you think, Craig, it's going to make it easier to prosecute perpetrators of this sort of abuse?
Yeah, I think certainly it's going to make it more recognisable, not just to victims and to perpetrators and the criminal justice system, but I think to members of the public and neighbours, family members, friends. Hopefully they'll be able to recognise this as abusive behaviour rather than just a relationship quirk. That'll help us intervene much earlier and build a much easier pattern of abuse rather than trying to deal with a single incident in isolation, like a bloodied nose or a broken arm or something like that.
I suppose one of the other issues that I guess you have to deal with, Michelle, as well, is the people that you look after, that you see, who have experienced it being introduced at such a gradual step-by-step process that many of them, I guess, wouldn't recognise that this is what's going on.
I'm thinking about a woman in particular that came into the refuge, and she was sat with the other women, and they shared their experiences. It helps, and they talked about the physical abuse, and she came to me and said, I didn't feel that I need to be here. And when we went and talked about what she'd experienced, there was very much coercive control.
Craig, what should someone do if they feel that this is happening to them, they feel they're becoming a victim? What do they need to do?
I mean, they need to seek help, and there's a number of ways that people can do that, either through the police, through family and friends, or through one of the number of support services that are around there, such as Women's Aid. There's a lot of helpful advice out there, but I think it's about recognising it, being honest about yourself in terms of what's a normal relationship, what does that look like, speaking to friends and getting that feedback, and then taking that step and seeking some support and advice.
Is it right to assume, perhaps that's the wrong word to use, but coercive behaviour can lead on to physical abuse?
Absolutely, and I mean, in most cases of domestic abuse, you see an escalation in that abuse. It doesn't always escalate to the point of violence, but equally some of that emotional and psychological damage can be just as harmful, if not more harmful, than physical violence. Some of those injuries take far, far longer to recover from.
Well, with that in mind, Michelle, what would your message be to anybody watching this who's maybe thinking they're uncomfortable with how things are at home?
Well, they're now able to recognise it and recognise that it is abusive, it is a crime, and there is services out there that can help, that will listen to them, that will understand and believe what they're saying. In the past, it may be been said to them, there's no physical, they haven't presented with physical injuries or broken bones. It's not domestic violence. However, it is, because, as Craig said, it's an ongoing, long-term abusive behaviour.
It's a long-term issue, isn't it?
And, it's about what every individual and the impact that it has on them and their emotional well-being.
Well, let's hope the new law helps to stop even more of this happening. Lovely to see you both. Thank you very much indeed for coming.